And welcome back. Welcome to another episode of the Top Flight Pod. My name is Hernan. You can call me H. We got Alex here with me on screen. And of course, we got the legend Marcelo Balboa ready to talk Austin FC, but also talk about Minnesota because that is the game coming up. We're going to preview this match, Austin FC against Minnesota. Marcelo Balboa, thank you for joining us. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, brother. I got to be honest with you. I'm excited to come back out to Austin. It's been a while since we've been there, and it's nice that how things have turned around right now for Austin. You know, it's such a great fan base and such a quality game this weekend when you've got number one and number three, or number two and number three going at it. So it's good, man. I'm excited to see what happens this weekend.
Alex, how are you doing, mate? Welcome. It
You know
happens.
when they told like Marcelo, Manny, and Mo were gonna be with us in the pod, I got excited. You know, it's great,
Man,
great, great opinions all around.
Manny and Mo got a 2 mile walk today, and it wasn't enough.
Here to talk about Austin FC against the Loons. It's going to be a big match, a great match. I mean, I don't know if we can say this already, but we're talking about it a little bit. I don't know if it's a must win yet or not, but Austin FC is coming off of a loss against their in-state rivals, the Houston Dynamo. Both Alex and I, we were there covering that match away from home. And man, can I tell you how many long faces were coming out of that locker room after taking a 2-0 defeat to the Houston Dynamo. Of course, you don't want to lose any game, and then especially when it's against a rival like the Houston Dynamo. But for sure, Austin wants to put that game in the past. They got Minnesota coming up. But I want to start off with your general thoughts, Marcelo, of Austin FC season so far, because they do find themselves in third place, right? Brett Stuver told us that if you asked them at the beginning of the year if they would have taken this position, they would have said, yeah, we would love to be at this point by week 10. But what are your general thoughts on Austin's position so far?
Listen, I think that you've got to be happy where you're at. And what I mean by that is, we're talking to Phil. He said, it took me almost a full year to get what I want, how I need it in his team. And look what they're doing now. They're on a great run. They're in second place. I think it's a great position to be in. You know what I mean? You're in third. You're not playing your best soccer yet. It's going to take time to get the mentality that Nico wants, but the culture's getting there. The players are there. So keeping everybody healthy is going to be important. But when you look at 10 games in and you're sitting in third place, I would think to myself, you guys should be very happy where you're at, because you haven't played your best yet. And you know there's better soccer to come. And I think when you look at Minnesota, I think you're looking at a team that has just been building over the last year and a half. And they're a dangerous team. They're a dangerous team with what they're bringing in and how they're playing. And but again, I think everybody right now is just trying to look for a little bit of consistency in their play.
Definitely. And one thing that Minnesota has been consistent in, and I noticed this when I was looking at the stats building into this game, I saw that Minnesota runs a back five quite often. And, you know, they're a team that, yes, they have managed to score some goals, but they're also great defensively, right? They're a team that has been, I guess, consistently solid at the back. But Austin FC has also been that team this season. Their home record for Austin in 5 games, they have 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. Minnesota's away record, they have 2 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss. So it really does seem like both of these teams are looking for the same thing, like you say, consistency. They're battling for kind of like the same position on the table. But Alex, any thoughts so far on Austin's game leading in with Minnesota?
Yeah, so Marcelo is telling us about teams looking for consistency, right? But I guess my question is, like, this team, if anything, has been consistent in my opinion. And we've been seeing Austin in these past 6 games playing what I think is the exact same game, in the sense of Austin is looking for possession. They create chances. They get the opportunity to score, but then it's just the finishing that's not there. It's bad luck. Zuni it's telling us every time that it's just things not going their way. It's just luck that's missing, and it's hard to disagree, because I see that that it's not like we're looking at we're lacking a creator. They are creating, they're just not finishing. But then how long can you go with one nil win every now and then, one here, one over there, and then trying to defend, but not being that offensive crushing team that you need to be effective in the long run.
Yeah, listen, I think when you look at, let's take Austin. Austin right now has 7 goals for, 10 against. They're -3. Okay, so the reason why forwards get paid a lot of money because it's difficult to score goals. We all know that. So it's going to take a little time to get in sync, to find the best 11, the best chemistry together. But like I said, you're not playing your best soccer. You're not playing your most consistent soccer, Austin, and you're sitting in 3rd place. So that's pretty good. That means that when it does click in, maybe you do go on a 3-4 game run. All of a sudden, you start building that confidence. So it's going to take a little time. There's no doubt. Listen, the hardest part in our game is that final pass. That final pass to get through that back line, and the second hardest part is getting that finish. He's got to be able to finish past the goalkeeper. Those are two difficult. I mean, there's no Valderramas anymore in this league. There's no Echeverries that can lay those. You've got Messi, and then we can discuss after that who's a pure 10. So right now, it's coming. It's going to take a little time. But like I said, usually you're playing your best soccer 15, 20 games into a season, and you're starting to build towards that end of the year. On the other hand, Minnesota's been together for a while. Sure, they play 5 in the back, but really it's 3 when they attack because they push the 2 wingbacks into the midfielders and they push guys higher. So they do have extra body, extra numbers. Numerically, they've got an advantage in the midfield especially when Austin plays 3 in the midfield. So they do have a little bit of that advantage. But remember, when you look at Minnesota, they have 12 goals, right? And they've given up 10. So that means in transition, defensively, they're not great. They've given up those kind of goals. So that's why when you look at this game, it's a very interesting game because tactically, who's going to adjust quicker? Who is going to be able to figure out where to adjust, how to close that space down? So for me, it's a very interesting game this weekend to see because tactically, 2 different teams with 2 different tactics and who can adjust the quickest and adapt and close the spaces down. So, but 2 very good teams that aren't playing their best soccer, but they're sitting in 3rd and 4th.
Now, I want to ask you about Nico Esteves, a guy that's been in this league. He knows this landscape quite well. He's also comes from European soccer, so he has that experience of working with the youth. And one thing that he's been talking about, even since when he got here in the preseason and also kind of in the first couple of games, he's been really talking about putting an emphasis on defense, working from the back forward. And at the beginnings of at the early stages of this season, Austin was getting all this credit about being very solid in the back line with guys like Heinzike, Cascante, Svatok, right? And I just wanted to get your thoughts on what Nico's been doing with Austin so far. Folks, maybe they want the flashy goals. They want the guy with the 9 on the jersey to put the ball to the back of the net. But it seems like Austin is focused on building from the back first and being a solid team defensively. But what can you say to the people that are just a little bit impatient with a team that can defend well first?
No, I think it's always everybody wants goals, right? That's what we want in our league. The difference is defenses win you championships. Ask the NFL, defenses win you championships, right? Ask the NBA, our defense will win us championships. So if we can limit the opportunities, then you're going to have more opportunities. So yeah, you know what? Most teams, even when we talk to other coaches, new coaches in this league, they said that they've worked on the first 8 to 9. They've caught themselves doing more defensive drills, almost 70% of defensive drills, 30% offensive drills. Because once you get that defense down, it's solid. You get the right people, you get the right personnel, you get the right movement, the right cover. All of a sudden, it's solid. It's very hard to break down. And that's what people don't understand, that you've got to build from the back and build your way forward. And I think that's what Nico's doing. Nico's building a platform. He's building a foundation from that defense so you can start building forward, because you build from the back to the front. You don't build from the front and work your way back. So I think it's going to take a little time. It's getting better. There's no doubt about it. But he's not the only one. There's been quite a few coaches, and this is, like I said, this is 10th game, and we know 11th game, and we know that I would say 80% of the coaches we've talked to have talked about how they're working defensively first right now to make sure they're solid.
And the backline to me is kind of curious because we have seen actually great defensive work from this beginning of the season in Austin. It had been amazing. If we just separate that Vancouver game as its own thing, right? A bad day.
One goal games everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So the defense have been great, but what I was going to is that since a couple of games to now, if anything, the defense has been a little bit shaky when it comes to how they were performing before. Because we're talking about that one game with Vancouver or with Houston, who weren't doing that great. They scored 2 on Austin last weekend, right?
Yeah.
So we saw a great solid defense, and then it started shaking a little bit. So how does that happen when you're supposed to be saying, hey, the defense should be locked down by now?
You know what? No one's playing. No one's in rhythm right now. No, I mean, look at what Vancouver's done to everybody, right? Look what they did last night to Miami in Miami. So, and Miami's supposed to be, they looked very shaky last night. So listen, you're going to have games where things just maybe don't bounce your way. It's reality. And last night it didn't bounce their way. Is your defense shaky? Yeah, it's been shaky a few games. If you want to go to the Vancouver game, if you want to go to but like I said, it's 10 games in. You're in 3rd place, and you still have so much room to improve. You know what I mean? If you hit your ceiling, then I would say, it's going to be a long season for you guys. But Nico's doing a nice job. The coaching staff is doing a nice job of building because there's steps to this process. You know what? You can't put the ornament on top of the Christmas tree if there's no base, because it will just fall over. You know what I mean? So you've got to build that base. And that's what they're doing. They're building the base. And as soon as you get that base solid, consistent, all of a sudden the results start coming your way a little easier. You know what I mean? But again, it's a new coach. It's a new team. It's going to take a little time. You know what I mean? And look at right now. Portland, new coach. Look where they're in 2nd. Austin, you know what I mean? So it's building. I think everybody wants it now. Everybody wants it done now. We want to win every game. And it's just not possible. You're going to have good games and bad games. And look at the other day, Chicago. Chicago got hammered 7-2. Now, do we criticize that one game where they had a bad game? No. So they didn't look good, but everything that Nashville shot went in a corner, deflected, it went here. So again, I know as fans, we don't want to be patient. Trust me, I know. But you've got to be patient. It's a process.
No, definitely. And something that was another process for Austin FC fans was the transfer windows that they had, recently, and also in the summer of 2024. I think maybe the one that gets more attention is the winter window that just happened, right? Because Austin FC went after Brendan Vasquez. They also got Mirto Usuni from Granada. But you also can link Bukhari in that mix, and you can say that Austin FC spent close to $30 million to boost their attack. Mind you, they also got rid of Sebastian Drusi, which was an MVP runner-up in 2022. Everybody here knows that, and the numbers that he brought to Austin FC, the attention that he brought to this league. And by the way, he just scored the winner in the Super Clásico versus Boca. So, I mean, that just kind of goes to show what kind of player he was and still is. But I wanted to get your thoughts, Marcelo, on what Austin FC was able to do this window. And like we've been saying, right, it is still a very brand new team because of the reasons that we're going to talk about right now, because of this window, and it is going to take time. But you'd think that the moves that Austin FC made, eventually they're bound to, I guess, cash in the bank is maybe a simple term. But $30 million is an insane amount of investment. And I know money doesn't bring you goals, but you would think that, hey, just any moment now, it's going to click.
When it clicks, right? So you're in a better position than a lot of teams are not, because you spent $30 million. You're going after attacking players. So when you do that, where's the one weakness then? Your back line, because you're not spending
the back line. The back line.
In MLS, we have a habit of spending on players going forward. We have tendency to find the 9, the 7, the 11, the 2 wingers, a 6, a 10. So listen, there's a lot of teams that aren't spending $30 million on their players. So yeah, I think you guys should be you guys are sitting in a very nice place. Once you get adapted and you get comfortable in MLS, you'll see, I think, a different attacking minded team you have. But still, when you look at the players you have with Vasquez and Bakari, you have all these players. You're sitting in a good area, because if one's not doing it, you have the next guy that can do it. Osuni doesn't, it's not, you know what I mean, Taylor. You've got players that can, you've got depth in those positions, which is very important. Because imagine in the 70th minute, I'm a defender, I'm playing the whole game, and all of a sudden you take out, let's just say, Suni, and you bring in Bakari. Now, I'm tired. He's fresh. What's he going to do? He's going to run at me. Taylor, what's Taylor going to do? Taylor's going to run. So you know what I'm saying? The idea of having depth in those positions eventually will pay off.
Yeah, no, to me, I think that's the most frustrating part that the Austin FC fan is going through right now, the sense that, especially because I see it in every single game where you have guys like Mirtu Zuni, like Brandon Vasquez, like Bukari, like you can see the quality, and you can see that it doesn't matter who's on the field. Austin is always creating a good chance.
Yeah.
The problem is that at the moment, all of those guys are missing the big chances. So it's like you're saying, I know it's just a matter of time for them to, get it together and get it right. But the chances are there for all of them.
And the experience you have in the midfield with Ilie Sanchez, you've got Wolf, you've got quality all over the field. It's just a matter of it's going to take a little time. The more they play together, the more they get in sync, the more they understand each other. And we've seen Austin play some 30, 40. You're just like, wow, where was this team? You know what I mean? It's coming. It's little by little, but it's going to take a little time. You know what I mean? It's remember, when you change coaches, Wolfie was there for, I think, 3 years, 4 years? Wolf was there, right, Josh?
4 years, yeah.
4 years. And now you get a new coach, and now it's changing mentality. It's trying to change the culture. It's trying to change things now to fit the way he wants to play. And sometimes it takes a little while for a player to adapt.
Now, I do want to ask, what are your thoughts on the move that Austin, made to bring Robert Taylor from Miami to Austin? It was a very, MLS kind of move in the sense that it was all, GAM. There was 700 that was initially reported, but I think it was also later on reported by the Austin American Statesman that it was a little bit lower than that, around the 500. But great, solid MLS, move. I just wanted to know, what'd you think of this?
You know what? I when I saw it, I was a little surprised because I thought he fit in well in Miami. But obviously he's on the outs with Maturano. So you know what? It's first come, first serve. You guys jumped on it quickly. I think he's a good player. He's a solid player. He brings you pace on the outside. He brings you experience. So listen, it never hurts to have depth. And when you're in the league and you're looking for depth and you didn't go outside the league, I think he could be a good pickup. Now we'll see how quickly he adapts, because listen, it is not easy playing in Austin in the middle of the summer. Let's be honest. It's hot and humid, but he played in Miami, so the transition should be pretty quick. So I see it as a win-win for both. I really do, because now Miami can go spend that money on some defenders, which we clearly saw the other night. The defensively, they're not very solid. They're very susceptible. They're very, we'll just say, discombobulated a little bit. You could see it last night. They didn't mark man to man. They let space go. They allowed Vancouver to hit them quickly on counterattacks. So they could definitely use that money to go get somebody at MLS or outside of MLS to help them. And you guys picked up a kid who already knows MLS. He fits your style of play. And I think when you look at it, I think it's a win for both teams.
Yeah, when I saw it, I thought, I like Taylor. I like what he did with Miami. I know he's a quality player. Yeah. And my thought was, I know he can play with us and he can fit our system. Yeah. But my thought was, okay, so he's a good quality player, but he's also coming into a team that has, again, a $30 million front three, right? So it's like, okay, why are you bringing another winger when you just bought one from Granada for $12 million, right? That plays in the exact same side. And
well, remember the workload. The workload.
Yeah.
I mean, look how many games MLS plays Monday, Wednesday, Saturdays. They're playing double headers. They're playing in Leagues Cup. They're playing the U.S. Open Cup. You know what I mean? There's so many tournaments right now. So would you rather not have a quality player and just have maybe an academy kid in that position? Or would you rather have a guy like Taylor coming off the bench when you need a goal with 20 minutes to go? You know what I mean? It's a balance trying to, I love academy kids. I help with the Rapids Academy and I love seeing those kids play. But at the end of the day, you keep your job. And our job is very simple as a coach. You win, you keep your job. You lose and you're not consistent and make the playoffs, you lose your job. So you got to find the best quality players you can, because there are going to be injuries. You are going to get fatigued. Your workload's going to be really high at some points when you're playing Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. So you've got to be able to have quality players. And in most MLS teams, you're probably looking 16 good players that they rotate for the majority of the games. And then you've got to find other players. So I think it's more of a workload. You have to be able to balance out that workload so you're not getting a lot of injuries.
No, and also one thing that the signing of Taylor would add, if anything, is just more depth. Any champion of this league needs that, right? Whenever a important player goes down, a next guy needs to step up, and that's one thing that Nico has been telling the media, that his mindset with this Robert Taylor signing is just to add a competition to every position on the field, so that there's no clear starter in any position on the field. So those are just words there from Coach Nico. But just maybe like a quick question. Do you think that Austin has the depth this year to maybe make like a playoff run?
What do you mean a playoff run? Make the playoffs or make a playoff run to MLS Cup?
That's a good question. Make the playoff run to MLS Cup, because no team, no ownership wants to see their team go out early whenever they've made the investment that they have made.
This conference
That's
final,
the first thing they're gonna look at. At least conference final.
No owner wants to see his team not make the playoffs, right?
That's true.
So you got to pick your poison here. So does Austin? I think it's too early still, and I'll tell you why. Because there's still another transfer window open. Okay, they're coming in the summer.
Yep.
And I think that right there, whoever makes the best move in that window could change the last 10 games of the season. You know what I mean? So do they have the talent? Yes, I think they have the talent to make a playoff run, to make the playoffs this year. I think they do. To win an MLS Cup, if you happen to go on a good run, like the Red Bulls did, you have those kind of players, you play the right soccer at the right time, anybody can win an MLS Cup or reach a final. So do you have the players with Vasquez, Suni? You can keep going down the road. Yeah, I think you do have the players. I think you have the players to make the playoffs. And I think you have if you play the right soccer, if it clicks in at the right time, then 100%. Look at Atlanta last year. Look what Atlanta did. No one gave Atlanta a chance. All of a sudden they beat Miami. They start winning. They won a few games. So yeah, I think that with Nico at the helm and the way you guys are playing and maybe one more defender, center back, a little bit more depth back there, I think so.
I also wanted to ask you about Julian Gretzel, because that's kind of the other side of the coin in all this. Austin has made moves, but Minnesota is also quietly reinforced themselves. I mean, what is your thoughts about Julian Gretzel making that move?
I think that's a great move. That's a great pickup from Minnesota. So the depth, the experience that guy brings, he can play multiple positions. I'm surprised more teams that didn't go after him, to be honest with you, to see if they can get him, maybe like an LA Galaxy who's struggling right now, or somebody in the middle of the table who needed that extra boost in the midfield. So, but that for me is plenty of depth now for them in the midfield. He can play out on the wings if he needs to, but he can play as a 6. He can play as an 8. You know what I mean? He can play as a 7 and 11. So I think that's a great pickup for Minnesota, especially in the position they're in right now.
Now, I think both Robert Taylor and Julian Gretzel are available for the Saturday's game. I know Coach Nico mentioned that in his midweek conference today, but I'm sure Julian Gretzel also falls in that same category as match-ready players. But that's going to be interesting to see two guys that were teammates last week. This next week, they are foes on the field. But Alex, anything you want to add on Gretzel before I get to some questions that were sent in to us?
More than on Gressel, just that when I spoke today to Taylor, he did talk with excitement about, he's now facing an ex-teammate, right? And they're both, kind of like the same situation again in similar kind of teams. So it's gonna be exciting for them. And one thing that he did mention is that definitely this game is going to be about, from the Austin perspective, to play the Austin game and not fall into Minnesota's game. So, like tying back to what Marcelo was saying earlier about this game being about who's going to be able to adapt first. It looks like Austin is the one that's going to want to have the say on how this game is going to be. And my only worry with that is that when Austin has done that, it actually looks better when they try to go in the counter than actually getting a hold of the game. They actually had a better playing style that I've seen when against the press or the plan of the opponent.
Yeah. Now here's the deal: is we all want to play attractive soccer. We all want to play exciting, forward, breaking lines, penetrating, this and that. At the end of the day, you know what you have to worry about is you're at home. You need 3 points. If you're going to make the playoffs, okay, and you're going to fight like we're talking about for a championship, you got to win your home games. You cannot, if you lose on the road, but you're trying to pick a point off here, you win a few games on the road, you're in the playoffs. If you don't win at home, if you keep tying at home and you don't win at home and you lose those 3 points, you put yourself in a heap of trouble at the end of the year. So it doesn't matter. I know like I said, we all as fans, we want to see great soccer. But at the end of the day, if they don't play great soccer on Saturday and they walk out of there with a 2-1 win, are you happy?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. They need to find a way. That's what I'm saying. For me, they have to stick to how they want to play, that tactical side, the defensive side, the offensive side. But it could be an ugly game. The important thing is, how do we find a way? How do we find a way through the 90 minutes to get an advantage and to take the 3 points home? That, for me, is going to be the important thing, because like I said, every game at home is important. Every game is at home because you don't have tons of home games. You know what I mean? So when you have those home games, if you can get the 3 points, you're making life a lot easier for you, especially towards that end of the year.
Yeah, I've always been giving I always talk about the example of the game against San Diego at home. Yeah. Right, because that was a game where we played 4 midfielders. It was very unusual. It was a surprise lineup. And it was a game where Austin had 26% possession. But that game, it has been the game where I've seen Austin the most creative and with the most dangerous chances that could have easily ended up in 5-1 result. In a 2-1, but still. So to me, that's, if you tell me you don't want to play attractive soccer, nice soccer, in your self play, or do you want to just play good enough for you to get the results, but having the attacking chances? Like I would be down to have 26% possession all of the time, as long as it means they are counter attacking and having those chances.
But the percentage doesn't matter, because you can have possession all you want. You can go from right to left, left to right, into the midfield, back. You can keep as much possession as you want, but if it doesn't end up on a shot, then who cares? Mm-hmm. If you have 30% of possession, but those 30%, you're attacking teams like crazy, and you're penetrating, and then you lose and you defend. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's what you do with the possession, not the amount of it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Now we have here some questions that were sent in whenever we told some of our members that we were going to have a chat with Marcelo Balboa, and some playful ones, right? And then also some Austin FC, nitty gritty ones. We'll start off with a fun one here. Phil M8, he says, who in the league today reminds you most of your playing style? And does anyone do hair like y'all did back in the day?
No, I don't think that that there's anybody out there that would play the way we played. And I'm just not saying me. The way we defended, the way we tackled, it was a different era. It was we were able to tackle and not have to worry. If you were just a little off, it wasn't a red card and there wasn't VAR. so you could be a lot more aggressive. Nowadays, defenders are a little bit more timid because if they do show up 1 second late, if they do catch the guy on the ankle, they'll review it to VAR, and VAR can get you kicked out of a game. So I don't think that there's a lot of players that played, even the way Lexi played or I played or Clay Koyman, you know what I mean? Those players that we had out there, they were very physical, they're aggressive on the tackle. So no. And then hair, you know, that's a good question because there's a lot of interesting hair out there. But I don't see anybody with Alexi Fro with the bright orange hair, or Valderrama with, you know what I mean? You know, or Echeverry with the long hair and the shaved on the sides, you know what I mean? So you don't see a lot of that. You see a little bit of it, but not. You saw Dorsey has the long hair for Houston with the ponytail, you know what I mean? But no, I think they're a little bit more. They're a little bit more clean cut now.
Here in Austin, they have like a little bit like a frost blonde hair thing. That's like 4 guys that have that same haircut right now. And it's like, come on, guys.
Because it's so hot there, you put white on top to cool it off. You know what I mean?
They might be onto something. They might be onto something there, right? Then somebody else kind of backs it up, and he says, do you love that the mullet has made a comeback?
Oh, yeah. I love that the mullet's made a comeback. The Adidas Gazelles have made a comeback. All the shoes we used to wear, the Sambas, all the shoes we used to wear are coming back into style. And, you know, and it's funny because my kid's like, hey, Dad, check these out. And I'm like, I know, dude. I wore those when I was 20 years old. You know what I mean? So, but, yeah, it's kind of cool to see this our generation of shoes and clothes starting to come back.
And Alex, I'm gonna mention you in this one. I'm gonna get your take first. It says, this is from Isaías. He says, also, since Balboa played for León in the 90s, how does he feel about León not being in the Club World Cup? But I'll ask you, Alex, first, because you were also very clear about this topic on previous shows that we've had. But how do you feel, mate?
I mean, to me, it's just weird because we saw problems like that with the Red Bull ownership. We saw things like that with the Citigroup ownership. So I don't know what's different about Grupo Pachuca and in this instance. So maybe it's right that they shouldn't be there. My biggest problem was with how they solved it. That makes no sense to me. But yeah,
you know, I feel bad for the players, and I'll tell you why. Because they deserve to be there.
Yes,
they did everything right. They played. They got all the results they needed, and they did it on the field. And they did it fair and square. So it's unfortunate that it's dual ownership with Pachuca and León. But if you go by the rules of how they say it, how it says it's done, unfortunately, FIFA's right.
Yes, exactly.
But I hate that they're taking that opportunity away from the players who deserved to be there, because they did everything right on the field. They got the results. They showed up away games. They showed up at home games, and they got what they needed to get done. And I feel bad for the fans, because the fans deserve it too. 100%. They deserve to be in that FIFA club. But at the end of the day, you know, I mean, FIFA made their decision, and now we got to kind of live with it.
100%. Very well said there. Now, we have here Jake. He asked something that we kind of answered it in the conversation that we had in the general pod. But you know, he says, what does Marcelo think is the problem behind Austin's lack of offensive scoring? But you kind of attribute it to just a matter of time. It's a new team, but maybe anything you'd like to close out on that topic about the goals?
It's just consistency. It's going to take time to when you get new players. You know, it's time. You have to learn the guy's runs, where he likes to move, how he checks in and checks out. Does he prefer to, you know, check in and move to the right so he can touch with his left and shoot? So, you know, it's going to take a little bit of time. It's not like you're not creating chances. If you're not creating chances, then I would be concerned. But I don't think when you look at these games, they're creating chances. It's just maybe it's a foot off here, or maybe that pass is a little long over the top. So it's going to take a little bit of time to get in sync and to find some consistency. But when it does, I think it's going to be a very dangerous attack in the West.
But so I would like to ask, so let's say they keep creating these chances, but when do you start getting worried about that feeling of being stuck in the same place for so long?
I don't think you're stuck. if you watch the games, there's always going to be setbacks. There's no doubt about it. That's just part of our game. You have great games, you have average games, and you have crap games. That's just reality.
Yes.
It's trying to find more consistent games from the middle up than the crappy games, and that's where you have to. That's where it all will come. So, and I don't think you've had really bad games. If you want to go to the Vancouver game, that's probably the worst game I've seen.
Yeah.
It was bad, but it's okay. It's early in the season. But no, I don't look at it that way. I guess I see it that it's going to take time to build that chemistry. It's going to find time to put the players in a position they're comfortable. And then, like I said, it's going to take time for it to click and for it to go and to find the runs and this. But like I said, the important thing is, I don't know when you worry because I'm not a coach at that level, but I would figure when you start pulling yourself away from that 9th position and you're 3 games out, you're 6 games out from a knockout game, you're 10 points out, then you start panicking when you hit that 8th, 9th spot and you start dropping below that. That's where the panic button hits in. But right now, you got to believe in what you're doing as a coach. You got to have confidence in your coaching staff and your players that they can do what you want them to do. And you keep pushing it and you keep being positive with them. And certain days you got to bite into them and tell them they're not great. And then certain days you're giving them kudos because they're doing it right. But you got to find that happy medium. And I don't think you have to worry about that with Nico. Nico, watching him in Dallas, watching him with the national team, he's got a very good demeanor on how to handle the players.
There we go. I think that's a perfect way to go into this final question that we have for you today, mate. This is from Ari Silva. He says, does he think that Nico is the right manager for Austin? Given our past struggles with scoring and overall frustration of the fan base, does he think highly of Nico and his optimistic or wishful attitude towards scoring goals?
Yeah, I do. You know what? I think that you don't get to the level that Nico's at. He did a great job in Dallas. He was with the national team. He's been at every level possible. So, yeah, you know what? The problem is people think, who's the right coach? There's no right coach. I mean, at the end of the day, listen, everybody said Pochettino, and now everybody's saying, well, was he really the guy for the job? Yeah, he's the guy for the job, okay? There's no doubt about it. Listen, when you hire a coach, it's like signing a player. He scored 20 goals in Brazil. Now he's only scored 2 here. Is he a failure? No, it's going to take him time to adapt. And the same thing with a coach. It takes time for you to implement what you want, how you want it, when you're going to get it done. But you always take a chance. There's no such thing of saying this is the right guy for the job. If he did, you know what I mean? It's always a crapshoot. You know what I mean? It's just reality. But yeah, I do think Nico's the right guy because you know what? He knows this league. He was working with the national team. He was helping scout MLS. He was doing all the things that he should be doing to know he knows MLS like the back of his hand. He knows the national team. He knows the players on the national team. So if you're going to open a door to a national team player, Nico knows U.S. soccer. He can get a national team player if somebody decided to come back. He can get you a foreign player. You know what I mean? So, but again, when you coach, you start from the back forward. You got to make that back line solid. So, and that's what he's doing right now. So I know we all want to see goals. And you can't win every game 5-4. That's just not reality. So it's going to take him time. But yeah, I do think he's the right guy.
All righty. Alex, anything else you would like to add on?
No, I agree with him that especially when you say that nobody's the right coach. That I absolutely agree with that. And again, it's also because I see that what Nico has done has been working. Again, it's just that finishing. It's just that little bit of luck that it's not going that way. I don't see it as a failure, as a failed system or anything. It's just things are not clicking or not going that way right now. So it's just tough when you see it, not going your way 6 games in a row type of thing.
Listen, you guys know Brendan Vasquez. You've seen him play on the national team. You've seen him play in Monterrey. Can he score goals?
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Okay. So it's just a matter of time before they come, right?
Yeah.
Has to be.
There we go. That's the beauty. Listen, forwards have times where they go a month without scoring a goal, and then the next month they score 10. You know what I mean? So it's just a matter of time of finding. It's a new home for him. He moved, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of things. So listen, the reason why goal scorers get paid millions of dollars more than other positions is because it's the hardest thing to do. Put that little ball into a goal with a big 6'5" freaking wingspan of a goalkeeper. You know, I mean, it's not the easiest job in the world. So, yeah, they get a lot of pressure. Yes, they have a lot of pressure on their shoulders, but they get a lot of rewards when they start scoring.
All righty. Marcelo Balboa, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us for a conversation about Austin FC, preview Minnesota, and the transfer window, of course. But where can people find you? Where can they see your work if you can plug in any social media handles?
Oh, no, listen, Apple TV every weekend. We do Spanish, and I think we're in Austin like 2 or 3 more times. So, and then if not, you can go on Twitter. It's Marcelo Balboa 17, and the same thing with Instagram. It's Marcelo Balboa 17. So I look forward to seeing you guys and hanging out and finding a nice restaurant tomorrow for dinner.
There we go. Once again, thank you, Marcelo, for your time. Thank you to the people that send us questions for him. And shout out to MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. Make sure to check out the games coming up your weekend. See you soon, everybody. Be safe.